Hello, everyone. It is March 8th at the time of recording tonight, and I am joined, as always, with our friend Brian. Brian, what's going on?
Oh, there's not much going on with me, my friend. I just got back from vacation, so we can chat all about that. But feeling relaxed, recharged, and just overall in a better mood. But how are you?
Good. Um, kind of in need of a vacation myself.
Yeah,
Not that
for sure.
I'm pretty much a homebody, but some time to also recharge, kind of get a reset and just clear my mind for more than 2 days at a time. But
Yeah,
yeah, your trip, how was it?
it was good. I went to, it's called Kissimmee. It's right outside Orlando, Florida. It's like half an hour outside of Orlando. It's where Disney World is. So we didn't end up going there because I think it's quite expensive. But it was great weather, great time. You know, I didn't. I worked the first couple of days I was there just to kind of finish out the week, and then I had about 5 days off, including the weekend. So uh, overall, really enjoyed my time. I went to see Cocoa Beach. I got that confused with Pebble Beach because I wanted to go to the golf course, and then when I'm standing outside the like the clubhouse, I'm like, this doesn't look like this world famous golf course. This looks kind of crappy. so, um, but we did go to Cocoa Beach, which was amazing. White sand and huge waves, clear blue sea or clear blue water. So, and it was just overall a great time. I got to out in the sun, touch grass as it were, and I don't know. I just feel refreshed, and I kind of have a more positive view of things right now, and just a kind of different perspective on things. So I didn't. I was very adamant that this vacation I was not going to go against my diet, my plans, and I didn't. I did go over my calories on a couple of days, but overall for that week I was down. So overall, a very great vacation, and hope to do it again next year or later. But you know, I always kind of dismissed just because the I haven't been on a vacation in 4 years. Like the year following the last time that I went on vacation was when we were graduating boot camp, and it was our final project. So I couldn't really take off time, although one of our partners took off what felt like a whole month and just kind of showed up to the on a final project. Shout out Joe though, he was great the whole time for the most part. Uh, and so I was like, I'll just take an extended weekend. I'll play some video games and I'll be fine. But, kind of comparing the two of, 7 days in out of state in a condo where there's a pool every day and just not having to worry about much. There is quite a difference. And glad that I got to experience that and just reset my mind a lot. So,
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, shout out to Joe. Hope he's doing well. Hope all the people from boot camp are doing well. Haven't kept up with them as much as I would have liked to, but um,
for sure.
I think, yeah, as far as the calories thing, I think it's good to kind of be set expectations, but also be realistic. And glad to hear the vacation was good and you feel feel like you got out what you wanted out of it. And I think that's the main part, right?
Yeah. The only thing that was kind of a bummer hindrance is my wife and son both got influenza A. Uh, my yeah, so they were. My wife started not feeling well like the second day we were there, and then she like woke up. She had like a fever, and then she had the chills. So we took her to the urgent care, and that's a whole other story I can get into later. But I was like, felt like half a day was gone between trying to figure out insurance and which place would take us and all that good stuff. So, but she got
Always something, right?
it, yeah, it was February 28th, so it's the last day of the month, and our insurance for the year switches over in March, not January. So for like whatever reason, the last day that our insurance was active, they couldn't find her in the system, so we ended up paying out of pocket. I mean, it was only $200, but I told my wife that we are going to start like a reimbursement, whatever request, I think is what the insurance company calls. It was just very strange, but she got prescribed like Tamiflu and a inhaler, and then like a breathing treatment. So um, they're actually, I'm home now. My wife and son were driving back home with the in-laws. Just they drive down there because they take all of our stuff, and we generally tend to kind of just stick to ourselves. We'll go out shopping or do some adventure on one day or another, but for the most part we just kind of stay there. But yeah, they both got sick, but they both felt better after a couple of days. But it was a lot of sanitizing, and um, that was like the only kind of stressful thing that really happened, but wasn't too much of a vibe killer.
Yeah, and they at least get to enjoy some of the trip then.
Yeah, my son, unless he has some sort of physical ailment, I don't like, he's just immune to like feeling sick. He was like, we were like had him in the pool or had him in the hot tub, or he's just like running around and still in a good mood. So, but overall, yeah, we did get to enjoy everything, even with the, the influenza A kickoff. So, but yeah, what's up? What's new with you, sir? Last time we talked, you were in a bit of a funk, but I'm hoping to hear some good news.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just one day at a time, right? Um, Trying to manage things, trying to check in, be present, um, just trying to find time to really understand my thoughts, understand my feelings, and that's been it's been good to be trying to keep on top of things, but there's so many different variables every day, outside of dealing with your wife and your son getting sick and you're on vacation and all the stress that comes with that. They really need to do something about airplanes because they were just giant germ infested tubes in the sky. I don't know if
Yeah.
I think you said they didn't fly, but
Uh, my wife and I flew down there just because she had to stay in and close up the restaurant. And I just didn't really want to take like 2 weeks of PTO because I only get like 3.5. So, um, but yeah, we flew. She sat behind. I think the girl couldn't have been more than like 6 or 7, but she was just like hacking up a storm, and I don't know if my wife caught something that from that, or just the general disease center that is the airport and an airplane. I'm fine. I haven't even exhibited any symptoms or anything like that. So,
knock
sure.
on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood. Up to 2 weeks though. So
Yeah, because they recycle the air too. So even if you're not by someone who's sick, I mean, obviously you have a higher chance of getting sick if someone's hacking up a storm right, next to you, or behind you, or in front of you. But
yeah,
all of it just like circulates. So
right.
it's
Yeah, I have heard that. So could have been that too. Um, but
yeah,
glad it's behind us. But it's kind of a theme maybe for this episode is leave it behind.
yeah. Some things,
For
some
sure. Yeah.
things. It's not to take away from the trip, right? It's you're were able to go. You had some problems. You had to figure them out. That's just life and what we deal with every day, right?
Yep.
And different flavors, obviously, but
Right.
yeah, it is. It's kind of one of those things you like look back and think about, and could do like "woe is me" or what have you, but kind of the understanding of. there's always going to be something, and people like don't want to get too apathetic and think like, oh, there's nothing I can do. Like, so why does things always happen like this and whatnot? But I think that's just the way that I see it. It's like, yeah, I mean, stuff's always going to pop up, and it's not always fun. It's never fun when things pop up like that. But yeah, at least for me, over the last couple weeks or so, kind of same stuff. The weekends trying to take some time back, and still just feeling kind of lazy outside of the work that I do, of not really taking care of some of the stuff that I want. Kind of procrastinating some of these like house projects. I've done some things here and there, but talking to my therapist this week of kind of the difference between work and what you do for yourself, and at least how I was raised, of the need for validation or something, of me doing good work, and like when you're just doing things for you, you don't really get that validation. So
Oh, for sure.
between like what I did at home growing up versus school is like, I kind of just did things and took care of, what I needed to take care of. And that's school and work. It's kind of the same, but around the house, or, what I'm doing for myself, it's like kind of hard sometimes to really have that motivation, really that feeling. Like I definitely feel better than I had, and I feel like I've come, pretty far from where I was. But taking a step back and thinking about it, of just the amount of change and kind of the habits that I've developed over the years, it's like it takes time, and trying to do things in small steps, and trying to have that management of a little bit at a time, like when you have time, versus some urgent things that come up at work, or things that you have a deadline. So just thinking about kind of time management in that regard, and not trying to lose out on what's the best way to approach it, and then start from there, and kind of peel back, considering the amount of time that I'm given, rather than just like, okay, read this, jump in right away. So you still want to have that. Still want to have that time to think. I think that's, at least for me, when I'm most effective, of having that time to think, having that time to try to chew on something, and then come back to it. Whether it's 30 minutes later, or maybe it's something that doesn't have like a real strict deadline. So I just kind of, come back to it, maybe toy with it a few times a week. But I think that can also kind of be attributed to, personal life and personal improvement in that. It's like, exercise, there's not a strict deadline. Sleeping better, taking care of yourself in general, there's not really a strict deadline on any of it. But a lot of the times I feel the most proud about my work is that I've had the time to be able to work on something. So I think with developing better habits and that, it's like, yeah, I mean, the only deadline is that, you get older and you wish you would have done these things sooner, or you wish you would have started these habits sooner, or you don't want to develop medical problems or something from not exercising, or, not managing stress, or, et cetera, et cetera. So really just trying to, formulate and figure out a way to kind of layer these things in throughout the day. And I do pretty well about like planning out the week, planning out my days. Things always pop up, obviously, but just trying to be adaptable, trying to be open-minded, trying to have that kind of student mentality of there's always more to learn. There's always different ways to approach a problem, and try to fold that into my time and my personal life, and kind of expand from there. So that's my thought. I'm going to commit to going to the gym at least once this week. Um,
Nice, nice.
and yeah, just kind of some other things of just changing mindset in a little bit at a time, rather than kind of the same old. And once I get enough motivation to like do the dishes or do the laundry or go grocery shopping or whatever, like try to get more attuned to a schedule again, because I feel like I've fallen out of balance, and I had for a while, but I need to, you know, remembering, remember like the little 1 gram weights, and it was like elementary school or something, that they had like the scale, and there's like little 1 gram weights, or they would do like paper clips or something, and they
Oh
would
yeah,
try to
yeah.
get things into balance. So I've got, I feel like a 1,000 gram weight on one side and nothing on the other. So I just kind of want to take it, a couple paper clips at a time and see what I get out of it.
Yeah, that's smart. Um, yeah, I feel like in a way this reminds me of like my last job where it was just I always felt like I was behind on things, and whether it's like just learning or actual projects, and I never really took any time for myself to just or empower myself to kind of like speak up and be like, hey, I need to actually spend time learning this, or like maybe need more guidance. I just kind of like it was at a place where you had to put your nose to the grindstone because your billable hours were like what we were all about. So from a certain standpoint, we it felt like we couldn't really take the time to get organized, and uh that carried over to my non-working hours. I just kind of fell out of whack. Like I felt just getting down on myself, and and then part of that I think just was just having a good schedule, to like make sure I was scheduling time away from that, and just having wind down time, or just really just time to myself. So um that was my failure. And one thing I've made a priority for this job is work doesn't really come home unless it has to, which is rare. I mean, I could probably count on one finger, and even then I'd be holding down several fingers. So um I'm taking time to spend time with my family and my son more specifically, because I've been reflecting on that my career trajectory is finally going up, so I feel secure with myself, even though the two really shouldn't necessarily be high contributing factors to my identity, but unfortunately they do when it comes to work. You know Trying to be present and for my son, and really just be there for him. Not that I haven't, but I just feel with like boot camp and trying to get a tech job that I didn't hate and want to just have dark thoughts about, but um, just be there for him. Actually, teach him life skills that are passable. That'll set him up for and give him good values that will set him up for success to be just a good human. I was listening to the Pivot podcast. It's kind of like a sports podcast with Channing Crowder, Ryan Clark, and Fred Taylor. They're all former NFL players. And they had John Brown on, who is Amon-Ra St. Brown's father. And, obviously I've seen him on the sidelines at Lions games, but his whole thing was you're you're not supposed to be your kids' friends, which that part I might be a little I'll push back on, but basically the core of the story is you're supposed to be setting examples, and you're supposed to be raising your kids to have a good education and just to be good people. Like teach them great social skills and great values. And um, my huge takeaway was that I need to be doing more. Like um, just from a personal standpoint, there's always more we can be doing. But the one thing that uh, a bit more self-reflective these days, but I'm not using it to beat myself up like I had in years or months past. So just using it to formulate a plan. Like I know you said you were committed to doing the gym. I'm committed to being spending more time with my kid and being a better dad. That's kind of more of like a long term, short attainable goals in between though, using the smart system. But my goal for this week was to take meal prepping very seriously. I mean, I think I went a little overkill because I've made 18 days worth of food, and I'm gonna clearly I'll have freeze most of it. But I wanted to give myself a variety, so I'm not just like eating like you know a protein egg bowl, every morning, and then eating like um a quesadilla for lunch, so I'm not eating it like 3 days in a row because I know myself and I will for sure get burnt out of that and just like not even want to eat it after like the second or third day and or third or fourth day and just like binge on fast food or something or you know over snack at with the things that we have at work. So um but I had the time because my wife and son are still out of town, so I took the opportunity to put in. I went grocery shopping at Walmart and Aldi, and then I made everything. I didn't eat fast food. I may have drank some zero sugar pop, but not the worst thing at the end of the day. But I think I'm getting a little past my point. But um, to your point that you were speaking on, my goal kind of for this week was to meal prep, and I think I've achieved that for several weeks. So, kind of on to a next goal that we can measure in the short term.
Yeah. So that's good. Uh, yeah, I think the kind of the approach that I've taken is focusing on time, I guess,
Yep.
and to what you're speaking of, like setting an example and um, setting up people for success, setting your son up for success, and leading by example, and these things. I think it comes down to, uh, well, at least with me, like thinking about it, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's time, right? It takes time to get good habits. It takes time to, commit to doing some of these things. As far as meal prepping, the time it takes to go to the grocery store, the time it takes to cook, the time it takes to package everything, the time it takes to clean up after yourself, and also the time you commit to take with your son, on vacation or just every day and what have you, is yeah, uh, as far as the influence that we have on people, albeit friends, family members, and those things. I really think like time spent is always good, and be able to learn more and to be able to do more, and keeping that balance all the time. And I thought too of like mistakes at work or some other things like dwelling and failing negatively. It's just like I started taking this like I don't have time for this approach. So like all my, but only specifically like my negative thoughts of like, oh, okay, I messed up. Well, I don't really have time to dwell on it. I have other things to do. Not that I didn't reflect and refactor kind of the things that I was thinking, and make a note to have like a stopgap in the meantime to make sure that I'm not a little overzealous of things. But um yeah, I think it's just, for me, that time aspect of, okay, well, what do I have time to do today? Well, I don't have time to sit in misery because I got stuff to do, so I'm going to take care of that. Um, and if I can take care of that, then I'll have time to do some things later on. Time to go to the grocery store, go to the gym, or what have you. So, yeah, I think that's kind of one of the thoughts that I had over this week is like, okay, well, what about my situation? How can I, kind of put more of a positive spin on it? Not exactly that it's a situation, but, just kind of being present and being aware of, kind of what I'm dealing with, and how do I come back the other side and not play scared, as it were. And yeah, that was kind of where I came to. It's like, well, I don't have time.
Yeah.
Like I've my time is better served elsewhere.
Yeah, for sure. I always the struggle is time management. I think if there's a person who is very good at that, please reach out to us, me specifically, or more me specifically. But one of the big things that I'm always constantly working on is time management. Whether because I have to split time between three different websites. Obviously, I have the one that I'm working on, 90 to 95%, but we're kind of we're switching platforms from BigCommerce, which is a I guess like the second place e-commerce platform, to Shopify, which I mean anybody who knows anything about e-commerce or even the internet really will know that Shopify by name. So um, I kind of had to hit the floor running on Friday. That was my first day back. My boss is like, "Well, I have two major projects that are going to probably take your whole day or even more." Because some code that I had on our previous site, just for whatever reason, wasn't working. Decided to take down. Um, the first project was I had to, remove a bunch of like a hover effect on like 1,200 different listings that we had, but kind of just was able to work through it more quickly than I thought. And the other one I didn't really have to fix. I think it was just a caching issue, but not so much of the nerd talk, um, or enough of the nerd talk. Uh, One of the things I've been working on at work specifically is time management, and it's like I'm still really bad at estimating how long something's going to take me. So my boss and I are kind of slowly working on that in my one-on-ones of like, hey, this might sound crazy, but I think this is going to take me 10 hours, or make up any number in your head. And she's like, okay, well, kind of just like, let me know if it goes over that, we can kind of talk through that. But if it goes quicker than that, great. You kind of have, you know document that, or keep it in your head that this type of project is going to take X, Y, Z. So if we have anything that's similar comes up, um yeah. So working on that a bunch, and feeling great that I'm doing incrementally better. But like as you said, sometimes there's always things that come up, and I'm in my webmaster role. I'm dealing with like signing up customers. I'm doing 10 different things. I mean, at what job aren't you these days? Um, and so it's like, how much time should I set aside for, if a random sign up comes through, or, a tech question for the site comes through, like, those type of things. And it's kind of just all incorporating it. And, this is my longer term response of, you kind of just have to deal with it as it comes. And we've, talked a lot about this. You have your main projects, and as you're saying, I don't have time to do some of these, so they might have to kick the can down the road. But it is what it is. You do the best that you can, and you communicate it to your peers, so at least they have an understanding of where you're coming from. They may not agree with it, but at least they can get a firm understanding. So I think communicating all of that too is important as well.
Yeah, yeah, communication being the big thing, and then also when we're strapped for time, like I was saying, it's still doing what you would normally, like if you had all the time in the world to mess around with something. And you like thought you had like some idea, and you're like, oh, okay, well, let's dig into it a little bit and see, kind of what the first step is, second step, and those things. And also like breaking down the problem too. It's like, okay, well, I identified there's 1,200 things that have a 1,200 listings that have a hover over effect that need to be changed. I know the component exists here, and um, maybe there's two or three other things, probably not with a hover over effect, but maybe two or three other things that will be affected by this that I have to do some testing on.
Yep.
So for each one of those things, it's going to take probably about 2 hours. I figure like 8 to 12 hours, for buffer time for anything else that's going to come up while I'm trying to fix this. And kind of the same with me. Like I deal with a lot of discovery work. Hey, do we have this? Can we get this? How quick would it be to put this together? Hey, we got a presentation on Tuesday. Can you get this? So in that sense too, like, okay, well, I still just kind of need to communicate it as much as like, level of effort. These are the other things that I'm working on. Like, what is my knowledge on this specific subject? Like, what's our problem statement? What's the story we're trying to tell? What are we trying to catch? Kind of some of those things. And the problem is you're never going to get like those answers, and kind of just have to go with like what you think is going to be the best interpretation of the requirements that you've been given. But yeah, I found like, the time I spend kind of on things that I've been interested in looking into, like that time invested does pay dividends down the road when I'm asked to do something similar, and the context or the logic kind of lines up for what we're trying to look at. So yeah, I mean, like, it's always going to be something, and how, at least for me, maybe like selfishly, like, okay, well, I know this has to be done. I know it has to be done at this specific time, but what can I, if I think about this, like, what can I do differently in this request that I've done previously? Like, how would this make things easier? What's like a more efficient way of doing this? And a lot of times that's tough, because you don't, that's kind of one of the things that gets dropped off when you at like a urgent deadline. But I'm going to try to fold that in a little bit more as I'm going along. So we'll see how that goes and where I can fit that in at.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, you do the best that you can and just get incrementally better at it. And first, you gotta jump, get your feet wet a bit, just to kind of get, I guess, a hang of it, and then uh, like I said, you just do the best that you can with it, and um, you learn from it, and you move on, and next time around you're gonna be better for it. So,
Yep, one day at a time, and yeah, always think about where you're at in the present and where you were at in the past, and yeah, I mean, I've already come down and like, okay, I spent 8 hours on this like 2 months ago. Now it'll take me 5 minutes, and it's around the same vein of something that was asked before, so I can do it.
Yeah, for sure. The hard thing for me is like for that is kind of trying to put myself back in that mindset of when I was working on it the first time. You know, um, retraining my brain to kind of think like that. Or maybe maybe they don't even have to do that. Sometimes maybe it is also just better to look at it, or sometimes with a fresh perspective, because maybe you missed something the first time. So maybe that's a better way to think about it. But if I'm working on like a web page and doing something different type of product or different display. So, I feel like the code that I write sometimes isn't always necessarily the same, but I also like to think that it's improved, or, just working on something that's kind of similar, but not. So, I can, maybe it's just a perfectionist in me that I go back and, you know, add, add some new lines to the previous code or change it. So, constantly evolving. Obviously the theme of our podcast, but um, it's going to be an everyday situation. Like, nothing's ever going to be the same. You can try and get yourself in that mindset, but you gotta learn from what you did, and then you gotta move forward. So, um,
Yeah, it's not exactly recycled topics. It's just the reality of things.
yeah,
Like
right.
you can iterate over something as much as you want. You're never going to be completely done with it. And we've joked before, like you come back to some code you've written like 3 months ago. You're like, oh, who did this? This looks terrible. And you want to make it look better or flow better or, be more easily readable. You're like, oh, who wrote this? I can't even read it. And it's like, oh, it was me.
Yeah, yeah. I know what's the joke that I always see on LinkedIn? Like, as a programmer, you're the murderer in your own story,
Yeah.
or you're the murderer in the story, the mystery you're trying to solve, basically. So, um, I mean, you could. That really goes for any job on any line of work that you think, like, whether it's a desk job or uh, doing like general or like being like a contractor. You're like, I like look at your like painting job or painting picture from like say, we'll use the same time frame 3 months ago, and then you like you're trying to maybe pitch something to a client, and you're like, look at that, and then you look at your work now and you're like, ew, how did I ever do that? Like, that looks terrible. But um that's just that just comes with repetition, and you know uh, learning. I've talked about the last few weeks, just learning from failure. Just repetitive strokes is the best way to learn anything. And get, given the time, that you'll be better for it. I mean, I've been playing Battlefield 6 for, I think, almost 200 hours now, and I'm way better of a player than I was 199 hours ago. So it's about camaraderie, even if it's within yourself. And just keep it pushing and be a better version of yourself, one incremental percentage at a time.
Yeah, that's always the takeaway. The variables are always going to be different, no matter what day it is, who you are, what you're trying to deal with. But that identification and that understanding of, first you have to identify, not the problem, but identify something that you want to get better at, and then learn and adapt to, okay, well, what's the first step? What would be 1% better? What can I do about this one particular thing today or this week or this month? And it's different for every person and every day and every topic, and go down the list. But it is it's beneficial. And it's also beneficial to track those wins, track those your thoughts that you're having when you do have those blocks of like, hey, I said I was going to go to the gym this week, and I don't feel like I'm going to be able to. What is keeping me from doing that? And then maybe you got to take a step back, and maybe there's a step before that that's causing you not to be able to start something. But you learn by doing. And if you can't do the thing that you set out to do, well, maybe there's something that's keeping you from doing it, a step or two before actually being able to do it. But yeah, it sounds needlessly complicated, and sometimes it is, but The only thing that we can do is try to dig further as much as you can. Take time for yourself, and um, you and uh, you'll benefit from it. Definitely, your relationships, your work, your your own health, et cetera, will benefit from it. So it will behoove all of us to look to be better in whatever facet of life that we've identified.
Yeah, as a lot of the food, food deficit or caloric deficit people, bodybuilders and all that I follow, there's always a term that I kind of notice. It's you got to lock it in. So, um, whether it's being present or the thing that you're focusing on, got to stay locked in and keep your eye on the prize. Whether it's meal prepping, doing a little bit better at work, going to the gym, setting a schedule. All of these things can be attainable. You just have to put in the work to do it. You have to be quote unquote locked in. So, um, it's hard. Don't get me wrong. I had to take breaks. I didn't exactly cook the food right away. There was a couple of hours after I was shopping, uh, that got made, and probably a couple of days before the dishes got done. But and maybe they may have been done probably right before I did this podcast. So, but just one other thing to add to the cog in the machine of life, and as long as they're done, uh, I guess that's good. But I know that I got to do I got to do dishes way far in advance, or way sooner than I did them. So, just one further example of that I'm not a perfect person, but I am just striving to be better than I currently am, even if it's just a 0.5% every day.
Right. Alrighty. That pretty much wraps up, most of what I have in my brain on a Sunday night. But I don't know if you have anything else.
No, I think we're good to end it there.
Alrighty. Well, if you stuck around this long, thanks for listening. Hope you got something out of it. And we will see you again soon.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody.